I'm wanting to play this game all day, bruh. Please tell me you ain't got no BS like this long loading screen, bro. Oh my gosh. What is a loading screen? Loading screens are a temporary visual display that appears when a program needs to load assets before the user can continue. Its purpose is to notify an individual from thinking the application has crashed and instead distract the waiter with information, entertainment, or another alternative. However, despite the percent of reasons for loading screens, what makes them so fundamental? Why and how are some different from others? And to its core, behind the obvious answers, what is a loading screen? On the surface, a loading screen is just a transition. Especially from the viewpoint of someone who plays games, a loading screen is just a dull intermission, meaning nothing more than some dots moving in a circle. It can even be described as a delay of the experiences of life itself, and rightfully so, as a loading screen is made to be a pause. That's why it's a thing. And from a technical standpoint, that's exactly what it is meant to be. When the loading screen happens in a game, the game is rendering assets required for a scene. It provides time for the program to move the collection of data, meaning audio, textures, models, and other stuff kept in the memory of the system into a usable form. You can think of it as being similar to a moment in a play when the curtains are closed because the stage crew needs time to transition to another scene, a technical hall of events if you will. That is also why in open world games, loading screens aren't as prevalent. Aside from the use of fast travel or a change in scenery, you just won't see them as often. With the exception of the occasional elevator or squeeze button mashing moments known as dynamic loading, the game intentionally will provide a loading screen that doesn't disturb the immersion factor of an open world. So alternatively, developers decide to make the loading screens interactive so the continued pauseless gameplay isn't lost. These hidden loading screens are the only solution to the needed delays though. They can also be painted to distract the user by means of providing information, a loading screen with meaning. For example, Fortnite, providing tips along with captivating art, and sometimes beyond being shown as an illustration, can provide hidden information about the game, like important dates or locations for items. Other games provide random facts about their game, such as Minecraft, or insights to the lore of their universe, like Black Moon Wukong and others. These loading screens are used as fun facts, almost like stumbling upon a helpful tidbit of information when waiting to continue a more significant event. But even then, loading screens are only limited to being information providers or disguises in plain sight. They can also be used to entertain, even if it is only for a little while. A loading screen of amusement. An obvious game that fits this category is Assassin's Creed. Being put into the animus with freedom to move however you see fit not only provides the continued immersive feel of those games, but also keeps the user engaged with a change in scenery. Additionally, games like Warframe and Fallout do something similar. In Warframe, you can move your ship around, and in Fallout, a random model from their files. Other games like Rayman allow you to still play the game, but just in a shadow-like world. Another game that does something similar is Bayonetta, allowing you to practice combos used in the game and avoid a black and red. Or more to add is Crash Bandicoot, where you can make fart noises and for some reason change the pitch of them however you want. Alternatively, a game will just provide a moving PMG or some type of animation to keep the user satisfied during their wait. In the grand scheme of things, there's really no reason to put forth so much effort in a loading screen when we have an entire game you could be worried about. And consequently, effort isn't always used. You could just paste the game into a loading screen and call it a day. And when one gaming company realized that, they ran with it, and only for themselves at that. A loading screen with games. Namco filed a patent in the 90s which made it so that only Namco loading screens could have auxiliary games, simply meaning mini games within the loading screen. An infamous use of this was Galaxian in the game Ridge Racer, with some other notable instances in later Bandai Namco Dragon Ball games too. Although, with all these versions of loading screens explained, how does Total Darkness, a PNG, or a bit of information weigh in the long run? They're all just different forms of distractions, so what makes them significant if there's even any significance at all? Beyond technicality and simple efficiency, why does a loading screen matter? And it matters because it's how you spend your time. Removed from level to level, place to place, event to event, what do you do in the in-between? The connection between events is just as meaningful as the event itself. And for that, I want you to imagine, instead of being in a game, you were back in a real world, a couple hours away from this big event, patiently waiting for your means of transportation to set you free from this ghoulish intermission. And as a waiter, patiently waiting in a waiting area that awaited you, you see and hear passerby going about their daily lives, wandering, worrying, wasting their seconds as they come and go. While you sit in this state asunder and recollect how you got there or what you're there for, that's when it happens. You notice something familiar, maybe a sound or a mannerism, a smell, or just something in the air that tells you to pay attention. attention because you end up noticing yourself, not as a reflection or a distortion in the corner of your eye, but in another, not as an imitation, but more as an existential iteration of yourself. In the form of someone else, you see you. Somehow by mistake, you end up recognizing yourself, and during this inexplicable phenomenon, you confront it, interrogate it, question it in yourself until you lose sight of what is and isn't. This hiccup in reality causes you to completely miss what you had planned, and whether it's worth it or not, you are now truly just a waiter waiting in a waiting area for what was next that awaited you. And as you might have realized, from event to event, level to level, you are now loading. But allow me to further explain. Illustrating a mind-boggling situation as this wasn't without reason. It was to emphasize you as the waiter. Imagine instead of being focused on the inexhaustible conundrums of life, you were instead absorbed by your phone, scrolling and watching the latest videos on your feed, or maybe too disconnected to even realize what's going on in front of you. By any means, you are not present at the moment, and I feel like that's what a loading screen is meant to be. A distraction, yes, but also time for the user to render themselves, to possibly just stare in the black abyss or run in circles, to by any means be in the moment. Games that play loading screens to stir you away, but the exact opposite, to keep you engaged. That's why some are even willing to incorporate entirely different games in the loading screens of their own, all for the sake of keeping you there. Is that not crazy? Maybe both are true, that you want to be there and yet you still need a fancy loading screen to keep you in check. Maybe it was never the loading screen or the pause. Maybe you just can't pay attention. Is that why for every loading screen now you just look away? Not to spot something, but to see anything? To stay stimulated? The need for constant dopamine? Are you not entertained? I mean, you wouldn't watch a movie and only view most hype scenes, but you should be there for every second of it. The boring, the repetitive, the lackluster, and the climax. Even in life, you don't just live in all the memorable segments, the weddings, the graduations, and all the firsts, but you are there for every waking moment, every funeral, every awkward interaction, every loss, and every day too. For all the time that you are here, be present in those moments. So when I ask, what is a loading screen? It is a moment, a pause in time for you to reflect, take a breather, and remember why you truly are here. To live your life in every second, even in the loading screens.